Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I've been your beat reporter covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for On SI every single day since August 2019, and we are continuing to move forward through yet another offseason together. As always, you can always find our 24/7, 100% free, boots on the ground content covering the Jacksonville Jaguars when you follow us on social media such as Facebook and Twitter at Jaguars on SI. You can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. All right, folks, welcome to today's episode. Later today, the Jacksonville Jaguars will take on the Cincinnati Bengals. We will be with you live with our post-game podcast as well, but I just wanted to take the time today to talk about what I think this game means. To me, this is one of the most fascinating matchups in Week 2. I mean, you look at the Week 2 slate, and it's a lot of chalk. A lot of teams who you would expect to win are likely going to win. You had the Commanders-Packers already. You had the Rams-Titans. That one's obvious. You have the Browns-Ravens. It should be the Ravens, but they always, have some weird games at the start of the year. Bills-Jets. Patriots-Dolphins. That's a slop fest. 49ers-Saints. You would think Saints against Mac Jones. Cowboys-Giants. You got to think Cowboys. Bears-Lions. Seems like a toss-up. Doesn't seem like the Lions are. It seems like, hey, losing Ben Johnson and Tanner, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his last name, the Jets offensive coordinator, and Aaron Glenn actually hurts. The Seahawks-Steelers, probably Steelers. Broncos-Colts, Broncos. Panthers-Cardinals, Cardinals. Eagles-Chiefs. Even that one, to me, doesn't have as much appeal as in the past. I think the Eagles. Falcons-Vikings. I'm not sure who decided to put that on Sunday night, but Vikings. Buccaneers-Texans, Buccaneers. Chargers-Raiders, Chargers. Jackson-Bengals is one of the only games that, to me, is both hard to predict the winner and also is an exciting matchup. I give a few other, games on there that are between teams who simply, aren't very good. But what I think is that this is a game that potentially, by the end of it, by the time all the smoke is cleared and all the chips are down on the table, it's one of the most entertaining games of the week. And I truly think the Jaguars can make a statement with a win. Here's a stat for you guys. Since the 2006 season, the Jacksonville Jaguars have only started 2-0 twice. That is from 2006 to 2010, all the way through the 2010s, and now halfway through this decade. About 20 years. That is ridiculous. Ridiculous. And the funny thing is, in their two best seasons that span, 2017 and 2022, they did not start 2-0. They started 2-0 in 2006, and then in 2018, which ended up being a disastrous season, they got really most of their wins out of the way early that year. And those are good examples, obviously. Like 2018 in particular. About why a lot of times the finish is more important than the start. But regardless of how you spin it, the start contributes to the finish. That is the simple reality of it. I think if the Jaguars beat the Bengals in Cincinnati on Sunday, it will send a message to the rest of the NFL. I don't think beating the Carolina Panthers did that. I think the Jaguars showed some things. I think they showed that they're going to be a tough team. They're going to be a physical team. They're going to run the ball. They're going to fly around on defense. So you definitely learn some things. I think the NFL learned some things about them. But you don't make a statement against a team like the Panthers. That is... You should be expected to go in there and do those things. And that isn't to say the Bengals are world beaters either. They aren't the Eagles. They aren't the Ravens. They aren't the Bills. They aren't the Chiefs, even the current rendition of the Chiefs. But they're still a top AFC, team. I'd say top 5 in the AFC. And they still have two of the faces of the league in Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. And one of the best defensive players in the league in Trey Hendrickson. So the Bengals get a lot of attention. Bengals get a lot of eyes on them. We know the Jaguars don't. But if the Jaguars knock off the Bengals this Sunday, if the Jaguars start off 2-0, the NFL will know that the Jacksonville Jaguars, under new head coach Liam Cohen, new general manager James Gladstone, new EVP Tony Pizzelli, are here, that they have arrived. Now, will there be things that they can improve? Definitely. The roster isn't even done, being built for how they want to see it. I envision that taking another year or two. But if the Jaguars take down the Bengals, they'll show that they aren't a team that can just knock off the clearly flawed, fairly easy teams to beat like the Panthers. It's a real contest. It's a real quarterback. This one, I think, the Jaguars want to play like they have chips on their shoulders. This has to be the chip. Because a win would show the league that the Jaguars simply aren't going to be that team that just gets rolled over anymore. The Jaguars have had to push through that. The Jaguars have had to find new identities. Jaguars have had to start new cultures because of that. And if Liam Cohen can get this Jaguars team to start 2-0, which, mind you, not a lot of people had high expectations for this Jaguars team. I believe I had them at 9-8. So even myself included. But with a win over the Bengals, you're putting yourself in good position. You have Houston Texans coming home in week 3. You have the San Francisco 49ers without George Kittle, potentially without Brock Purdy in week 4. And then you have a Chiefs team in week 5 that, is still coached well, but I don't think they scare anybody anymore. I just don't. I don't think that they have the speed, anything that really, puts the fear of God into opposing defenses anymore. Outside of Patrick Mahomes is obviously still an elite quarterback. A win would also show, and maybe this is more internally, a win would show that Liam Cohen was a heck of a hire by Shad Khan. There's already reasons to believe that. There's already, you listen to him talk during the offseason, during training camp. You hear how others talk about him. You hear how players talk about him. It surely seems like Liam Cohen has the right idea for the Jaguars. At least right now, as I said, I want to know. But if they can get to 2-0 over the Bengals, I think that's when Liam Cohen will start getting his national flowers. I mean, even last week, that win against the Panthers, it seemed like it just wasn't overly talked about outside of Jacksonville. And I thought it was a heck of a coaching debut for Liam Cohen. Managed the clock well, called good plays. I mean, I just thought it was a ho-hum day for Liam Cohen. So the question, of course, now is, can the Jaguars do it? I think they have a heck of a shot. I think that, the Bengals have started slow in recent years. Their offensive line had big issues against the Cleveland Browns last week. So it's certainly feasible for the Jaguars to do so. And for the Jaguars to shock the NFL world. Thank you guys for listening. My name is John Shipley. I'll be back next time.